Good morning, everybody. Welcome. This is How to Profit from Student Housing and Short-Term Rentals on Agricultural Land. It was great talking to several of you before we got started. Again, we do ask that you hold your questions, write them down, keep track, put them in the chat, whatever you need to do. We will get them to them at the end of the presentation. We do have a lot to cover. We want to get to it. Again, welcome. How to profit from student housing and short-term rentals on agricultural land. Now, as a result of this could be for active and passive investors, developers, brokers, contractors, agricultural landowners. So, the photos start to explain, especially the student housing part. This is Cottage Homes on Wheels. Yes. All right. You've heard of tiny homes, but there's a big difference with these cottage homes on wheels, and we'll talk about that and a lot more in just a moment. Now, the pictures are the key to the income potential from these. As you can see, they're on wheels. Now, the platform is comparable to what is used for RVs. That means these are ready to be hooked up to utilities, just like an RV. And, as we're going to get into in a moment, these are zoned for RV property and, more importantly, for agricultural land. These cottage homes on wheels are not, that is not, zoned residential. As a result, there's no residential building inspection. They're not up to residential zoning or not zoned that way, which means they're not subject to residential property restrictions. With the tiny homes and some of the other properties that are on the ground, there's municipalities that have major restrictions. There's property tax concerns. There's negotiations. But with our cottage homes on wheels, they're ready to go. All you need is the hookup and property, again, that's zoned for agricultural or RV. Now, the photo on the right, yeah, that's what a dorm room could look like. That's part of our plan. You could put two, maybe three students in one. We're going to go with two for the sake of the example, be a little bit conservative in our projections. I'm your host, Dave Cole. I'm the CEO of First In Promotions, which has First In Real Estate Marketing. We've started in 1992 and continue to work with developers, brokers, investors, contractors, lenders, all things real estate marketing. We're here to create opportunities like this one. It's also been my pleasure to help training investors and agents and brokers. Also worked a little bit with lenders, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But anyway, we welcome you. All right, cottage homes on wheels. Again, for short-term rentals, student housing. You know what? These can also be used for employee and temporary housing. Let's say you have a high-end commercial or luxury home project that's being developed, and there's construction crews, and it's maybe a more remote area. Where are the employees going to go? These could make some good temporary or employee housing. Or for, let's say, it's a luxury casino or luxury home project or development. Where do your employees live nearby that's affordable? This could be the solution. These could be individual, located throughout a park or throughout farmland, as we will show you. These can also be set up as a community, as you can see in the photos on the right. The irealestatehub.com website has more information, more details on what we're talking about here this morning. Opportunities abound, especially for agricultural land owners or agricultural land buyers. Now, one key thing about this for agricultural land is that it doesn't have to be flat farmland. This could be for your non-productive acreage. You could have a 20-acre farm, but have that 1 acre on the property, or 2, or maybe even 5 acres that have trees. Maybe they're on a slant. Maybe there's a creek running through. Whatever the obstacle is, Well, now there may be a way to make those acres considered non-productive as or more productive than what else is on the farm. Hopefully, we can make that happen. So, plenty of opportunities for agricultural landowners. And of course, there's a lot of landowners that are not aware of this opportunity at this time. So, you, as an agricultural land buyer, could really be tapping into a gold mine. Those are some of the opportunities for real estate investors, whether you buy the land to develop your community of cottage homes on wheels, whether you help a farmer or agricultural landowner to be able to rent out or maybe even sell and be a landlord, manage the properties, whatever their plan. For real estate developers, what an opportunity this is, because these cottage homes on wheels are delivered, ready to go. All that needs to be done is for the hookup. Now, there may be some work on the property to bring the hookup to the location of the houses, but once that's done, that's a one-time thing. So think of how you could become, or a developer could become a developer so much more quickly. They don't need architectural plans and negotiating with the municipality and worrying about the supply chain. Within 100 days, they could be up and running with ready to go homes. And that's any time of the year. For real estate brokers, there's an opportunity to generate a finder's fee for each sale of a cottage home on wheels. So it's a way to create additional revenue for non-residential properties and in any of the 48 contiguous states where cottage homes on wheels can be done. All right, let's get into some more of the details for cottage homes on wheels. Again, they are zoned only for agricultural and RV property. Now, the photo on the left, that's an example. That's kind of non-productive agricultural land, not really ready for farming. But in this photo, you can see already 3 homes. Yeah, we're figuring that you could generate or maybe have up to 12 of these on 1 acre. Now, we'll get into the profit potential in just a moment. Again, these cottage homes on wheels are not, that is not subject to residential inspection. The municipalities are not involved because of the zoning that's already in place. These are delivered, move-in ready. There are no construction or supply chain delays, and they're fully insulated, ready for hookup, and we'll tell you a little bit more on these as we get further into today's session. Now, these can be purchased one at a time. They can be bulk ordered. If you want to start with a community of 5 or 10 or 20, or build a huge development with 50 or 100 of these, we can do it. Financing is available, and we can help guide you in that direction. And there's more than just the cottage homes on wheels. Doing this, especially with a community, creates additional profit centers. Now, let's focus on cottage homes on wheels for student housing. Now, here's the thought: placing cottage homes on wheels within minutes of college campuses. Now, all right, we know there's plenty of big city colleges and universities where this is not feasible, but we're looking at the rural college towns. Let's say a Champaign, Illinois, where the University of Illinois is. There's plenty of examples to go around. Auburn, Alabama, for example, where you go 10, 15 minutes at the most outside of the campus area, and there's farmland. Yeah, agricultural properties that could host these cottage homes on wheels. So, again, using the picture on the lower right, that a cottage home on wheels could be into a dorm room. There's a lot more privacy as well when you don't have people out in the halls making noise. There's a lot to consider as far as the students. So, using the example of 12 cottage homes on 1 acre, and you might be able to get more, you might want it spread out a little bit. We're just using that as an example. Now, suppose you can get $400 per month per student, and that's two students per unit. So that's $800 per month that you're taking in, and we'll say 10 months out of the year. Let's just say during June and July, they're not rented. Now, of course, depending on where you're located, there may be a state park or a lake or recreation. There may be summer school where you could do a monthly rental. So we're doing it conservative by basing the income potential on 10 months per year. Just with that, at $400 per month, two per unit, 10 months, with 12 of these cottage homes on 1 acre, you're looking at $96,000 per year gross rental income. All right, suppose you have 10 acres. Multiply that by 10. You've got 120 of these homes, $400 per unit, or per student, I should say, two per unit, 10 months out of the year. That is $960,000 per year gross rental income. And that's at $400 per month per student. Now, as you're planning this, maybe you're acquiring or partnering on a land parcel that's 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes from a college campus to be able to do this. Keep in mind there are other profit centers. Oh, and in coming up with the amount of rent you can charge, take a look at what's out there in the market. $400 a month may be pretty doggone low, and you can get $600 per month per student, or maybe even more, especially with the added convenience of the privacy involved. It's more of a community. They're a little bit away from campus, but yet they're minutes away. It's a quiet environment to study and do their homework. They're safe sitting out in the yard or in the area outside and can enjoy that. Maybe some of the students are into agriculture, sustained living, growing plants. There's plenty of benefits, and they're not going to get that on the fourth floor of a crowded apartment building or in the dorm rooms right by campus where there's noise going into all hours of the morning. So, some of the projections. Profit centers, yeah, let's talk about that, and we'll talk about it a little more. Furniture rental. You could just have the same furniture that maybe you replace every few years. Maybe it's another $25 or $50 a month for those students. A shuttle van. Yeah, we mentioned it maybe 10, 15 minutes from campus, and maybe not all the students have a car. So have a shuttle van with regular runs to the campus, or maybe to the grocery store, the department store, the pharmacy. And that could even have students doing the driving. Maybe you, as the owner, you'll do that as an added incentive. Or again, it might be $50 a month more, and they'll take you X number of times. There's plenty of opportunities for that. Also, for providing Wi-Fi, solar energy. There may be the opportunity to, there are some companies that'll do that where you can resell their Wi-Fi or on solar energy to save money on the electricity and bill them X amount a month for electricity based on the current standards and yet be able to save the money using solar energy. We've even seen it happen where the investor, the owner of these, may take some of the acreage and even build a solar farm, be able to profit from selling solar energy elsewhere. But that's another story, not specific to cottage homes on wheels. So, student housing near the campus, be looking around for those opportunities. Short-term rentals. Yes, a great opportunity. Think of how much farmland is out in many of the tourist type states. Yeah, even parts of Arizona, California, but it's things like Kentucky Lake, the Carolinas, so many areas where there's the state park, there's hiking trails, there's one or more lakes, there's the ocean, there's space for hunting and fishing. And maybe there's a stadium nearby. And again, that could be near college campuses. For example, there are some short-term rental owners that make enough to cover most of the year based on being near South Bend, Indiana for Notre Dame football. or some of the other big campuses. Alabama is another example of that. Short-term rentals. There are alums that come to these football games and sometimes basketball games and other events, concerts that will spend quite a bit to have their own place. And so those are also possibilities of having these for short-term rentals. Could be the weekend getaway, could be the seasonal home rented out for the summer, and maybe even in between student housing rentals. And remember, these cottage homes are on wheels. So, yeah, it may take a truck or tow truck, but these can be moved. So, you could own them, have them maybe in a northern state during the summer, bring them further down south for the winter for snowbirds to use. And these homes are sustainable. So that may be an attraction for a potential tenant, whether for the short term or even for the long term rental. You're able to compete with the tiny homes, again, without the residential restrictions. Now, another question we get asked is, what about insulation? Are these things like built out of plastic? Oh, no. Here's the description. And you can see this now. You could take a screenshot if you like. This is also on the FAQ section of irealestatehub.com. But the point is, there's a lifetime guarantee on the trailer and the frames. And these are expected to hold up beyond a traditionally built dwelling. And these cost a lot less. And yeah, we'll get into that in a moment. So, and there's less maintenance. Remember, these units are above the ground. So if there's a couple inches of rain or some type of a minor flooding or moisture issue, not to worry. These units are raised. Note the picture. This is taken on snowy conditions. It's above the ground, so the snow is not going to directly add to the cold. You won't have as cold of a floor because this is raised. If it's a problem, these can be moved. So the insulation used is similar to what is used by firefighters. And the builder, and again, these are delivered ready to go, they will use a heavier version for the northern part of the country than they do for the southern part. There is heating, there is air conditioning. Yeah, it's a bit smaller, but it does have those very important aspects to it. Now, costs. You can see by this chart, which is also on the irealestatehub.com website, that, okay, your square footage cost might be a little more, but look at your square footage for these smaller homes. And the total average cost, it depends on some of the variables, what features you want inside and so forth, but your average cost, including delivery, is around $85,000. There's quantity discounts available. And keep in mind, these costs are the same regardless of the value of the land. It could be $1 million property, it could be bargain basement property. Your costs for these are still the same delivered. Oh, by the way, 1,200 square feet is the minimum for a frame built dwelling. These cottage homes on wheels do not face these restrictions since RV status, as well as for agricultural properties, there's no size limit. One less concern, and take a look at that price. So, again, using this just to go by, if you were even going to build a cabin or a series of cabins for guests to do these, or for students who don't really do a cabin type living, you're looking at more than double the cost of the average cottage home on wheels. So you can get double the amount of people in and increase your income potential. Now, let's go back into the revenue potential. So again, 12 homes, 12 cottage homes on 1 acre. That's something that can be done. It's an estimate. 2 students at even $400 per month each, 10 months of the year, as we said earlier, $96,000 a year gross rental income. And that does not include profit centers. Now, what if you can get $600 per month per student? And that's possible in some areas. You'll know what the rents are for apartments and houses in the area and what conditions they're up against. So if you can get $600 per month, Again, using that same formula of 12 on 1 acre. 1 acre, that's $144,000 a year gross rental income. Remember, you're not going to have to replace the roof and the furnace and do all the things that come up every few years, if not more often, for a traditionally built dwelling. So we're looking at $144,000 per year gross rental income. 12 per acre. Now, let's say you have 5 acres at the $600 a month per student. Now, that may be a little bit wishful thinking, but it's possible. And if you do that using just 5 acres, that becomes $720,000 a year gross rental income. Now, this information is not guaranteed. These are estimates only. Do your due diligence, proceed at your own risk, but look at this potential. All right, let's talk more about the additional profit centers. Furniture rental. Okay, the photo explains it. Now, this furniture doesn't cost much to buy or even to rent and then re-rent, kind of like subletting. Again, maybe you can get another $50 a month for students that then don't have to bring much of their own furniture, if any. They just walk right in and it's ready to go. So that's possible. Wi-Fi, streaming. They'll want service for their cell phone. Instead of having to have them worry about it, maybe you can have Wi-Fi, or maybe your location is near a cell tower where there's good service. But there may be a chance you can profit by bringing a streaming service, maybe offering like DirecTV, or there are some of these services that do allow partnering where you can resell and add that in as a monthly package. Now, on the lower left, the campus shuttle. Now, this is just an idea. It's also possible that maybe there is a campus shuttle already in existence that you could contract to allow students to go back and forth to campus if they don't have a car or choose not to have one separately. But we see this as another potential profit center. Maybe buy a van or two and offer rides, maybe once an hour, whatever the case might be, to and from the campus. Again, there's the grocery store, there's the department stores, there's all types of events to offer. It may be something you can tack on as an extra charge. Maybe it's something you work out with the shuttle, but that's a profit center. Also, solar energy, whether for your tenants, whether it's short-term rentals or college students, or doing a solar farm using agricultural land like the picture on the right. There are solar consultants that can help you with that depending on the amount of space involved and the profit potential. So remember those figures we gave you as profit potential a moment ago. That's just on the rentals of Cottage Homes on Wheels. These are some additional profit center opportunities. All right, now, yeah, you got a little preview. We'll be talking about brokers in just a moment. For investors, developers, and agricultural landowners, these cottage homes on wheels can be ready, delivered, up and running within 100 days, and that's any season. There could be 6 inches of snow on the ground, and well, it may take a couple extra hours to get these cottage homes to the property, but there's no delays because of the weather. They're put together, they're ready to go. All you need is the utilities hookup, and it's ready, just like in an RV park. There's no supply chain delays, and we all know that's been an issue over the last couple of years. And as we mentioned earlier, this plan for cottage homes on wheels can work on non-productive agricultural land. Maybe it's slanted, maybe there's trees, maybe there's a creek going through, maybe it's too close to the road for irrigation equipment, whatever the case might be. If it's not producing farmland or farm income, great, here's a chance to do that. Now, you can certainly use productive land and replace them. It's possible that a few barrels of corn won't make as much as Cottage Homes on Wheels, but that's not our decision. We want you to know this could be additional income for the owner of agricultural land, whether it's by partnering, whether it's by acquiring. As we mentioned earlier with insulation, these are ready to roll for hot or cold weather conditions and keep the occupants comfortable. Again, there's the added profit centers that we just went over. And of course, you can expand at your own pace. If you want to start out with one or two of these and grow it and add one every couple of months or add five a year, whatever the case might be, you can do that. Now, for licensed real estate brokers, a new part to our program is that you can earn a 2.5% finder's fee, and that's for any of the 48 contiguous states. Obviously, we're not able to deliver these to Alaska or Hawaii. So, yeah, that's equivalent to a buyer or seller fee for each cottage home on wheels that you basically get the sale for. And remember, to do this, there's no property transaction necessary because this could be on existing land. You, in effect, as a licensed agent or broker, can sell these as income properties on existing land. Now, ideally, you'll help them acquire the land, which is an additional separate commission transaction that we have nothing to do with. But if it's creating this opportunity for an existing property, here's a way you can earn that finder's fee. And again, because it's not a residential transaction, we can do this in any state. It doesn't matter where your MLS or where your farm area is, pun intended. We can make this happen for you in any state. And we know that there's a lot of licensed agents and brokers that also invest on their own and separately. Well, this may be a great way to enhance your rental portfolio, whether it's student housing, whether it's short-term rental housing, or whether it's just, renting to eventual clients who are getting ready to buy. Maybe they want to learn or explore a market. So using that 2.5% finder's fee, let's say you help and you facilitate the sale of 10 cottage homes on wheels at the average price of $85,000 each. Well, your finder's fee then is $21,250. There you go. So there's how licensed agents and brokers can generate some additional income while helping investors and agricultural landowners. Even if you only do residential, you can help them to expand their income. Now, getting back to the student housing avenue, some of you know, if you're working in college town areas, that there are some parents sending one or maybe two of their kids to the same away to the same school. They will actually buy one of those rental properties, maybe a 4-unit building that can get 15 college students in there, a couple blocks from campus. Well, what some of these parents will do is they'll buy one of them, get it financed, and their son or daughter goes down, lives in one of the units, of course, for free, and then kind of acts as property manager. Well, they'll screen the tenants. They're going to be careful about who they want living with them. Um, the guys, the girls, whatever the case might be. So, and they rent it out for the going rate. The result for the parents is that they now have income property, hopefully cash flows, but even if it doesn't, their child is living rent free. What they do is make the child the property manager, which also, helps get them experience in doing that. Now, maybe them calling the plumber and calling the electrician and all that for these buildings, but the child is the property manager. And now, when the parents want to go visit the child for alumni weekend or parents weekend or go to the football game, well, now it's a business expense because they're going to check out their property. So there are parents that do this. And then after the 3 years or 4 years of the students living there, they can then decide, do they want to keep the property and continue to have it be rental income? Or do they just want to sell it to the next set of parents that are coming in to do the same thing? Now, this is being done in a lot of the college towns, and some of you, as licensed agents and brokers, may have done this, be doing this, or know someone that does. Now, think about that, and that's a great idea. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you've got the cottage homes on wheels, now here's a way you can benefit from selling or placing them in surrounding areas without having to go and work with other brokers and deal with not knowing the area and all the time it takes, and still come out with your 2.5% finder's fee. And if you help other students be able to rent these places, you're certainly not going to make that type of money. So that's part of how this opportunity positively impacts licensed agents and brokers around the 48 contiguous states. A great opportunity, and we're happy to talk with you or your brokerage more about that. And as another thought, we mentioned that the cottage homes on wheels are zoned for RV. So they can go in campgrounds or mobile home parks. Now, here's an example. As you can see, there's a tiny home on wheels right in there, and there's the car right next to it. So here's the thinking. Now, customers can drive and stay at your campground or RV park or mobile home park, whatever days or weeks or months they want to rent for. But now they don't have to tow their camper and deal with the hassle of that for hundreds of miles. Maybe you can rent them the furniture and it's a complete operation, staying at the campground, a lot less than a hotel, much easier. They know the hookups are there and they'll have more amenities than some RVs would have. So, something else to think about as an income opportunity. You already have the property, you already have the hookup. So, a way for owners or investors looking to buy campgrounds, RV parks, mobile home parks. Again, a way to increase income that way. And we're happy to talk with you about that. Now, let's recap. Okay, cottage homes on wheels. This is the advantage. They can be used for short-term rentals, student housing, employee and temporary housing. It could be one every so many feet. It could be done as a community. That's totally up to you. That's a way you can be a creative developer and have your community, or like the picture on the upper right, where maybe you could have a group of 5 or 6 together in kind of a circle with a central point. Or again, you can have them along the rows. There's plenty of ideas. We're happy to help you with strategies on that. Oh, what's next? Good question. Mobile business on wheels. Yes, this is a smaller version of the cottage homes on wheels that are made for businesses. So take a look. Imagine just pulling up with one of these for the county fair, the state fair, local farmers markets, the street fair, festivals, flea markets, even pop-ups, maybe even parking lots if the zoning and if the municipality goes along with it. Now think about this. You don't need to spend hours setting up, taking down, and worrying about where your merchandise is going. It's all inside. So you finish up for the day, maybe you bring your sign and table and a couple things inside, pop it on the back of your tow truck or whatever you're towing with, go on to the next destination. Look at all that time and effort it saves. And you have the indoor facility. People can walk in to get out of the heat, out of the cold, out of the sunshine, whatever the case might be. And these are priced from as low as $29,000 each. So these are great for investors, maybe one small business owners, maybe you want to help with financing that. So we will be having more information on these in the days or weeks to come, but we're happy to talk with you about that. All right, we do know that I'm seeing some questions. We will get to those in just a moment, but now's the time to prepare. We'll be calling on you in a moment. We have some in the chat. We will get to them. Again, my thanks. My name is Dave Cole. More than 30 years as CEO of First In Promotions, which has First In Real Estate Marketing, and we're just first in a lot of things. That's my email, phone number. And for more information on this project, you can visit irealestatehub.com. All right, we thank you for attending today. Now let's begin with our questions. All right, first one was Tom in South Georgia. Oh, yes, I've spoken with Tom. Great question.